What's up, y'all? It's Ryan De La Garza here. We're doing another Desmos Build Along, and in this one, I'm going to look specifically at leveling up your feedback game. So, I've seen a lot of activities out there. Students are working asynchronously in some case, and we want to give them some kind of feedback to the work that they're doing. So, I've seen a lot of self-checks, putting check marks and things like that. But I'm also hearing a lot of students are seeing that and starting to just guess because that feedback isn't prompting any thinking, right? We're not giving them something to continue their thinking when they see that feedback. So I want to look at how we can use the isSelected function along with our explainPrompt sync and some images that I made to make some feedback that is hopefully going to get those wheels turning and have students actually thinking about the answer they're putting in. So let's see what this looks like. Here's my activity, right? We have an equation that's modeled over here. Which value makes x true? So if I'm a student and I come in and I say, let's just go with +1. Well, notice my model now changed to have that 1 put in there for all those x values. And now instead of just asking, explain your thinking, we say, here's that selection represented, and talk about how this representation supports your selection, right? So we're asking kids to dive deeper into why they chose that answer and hopefully look at that model and say, wait a second, something doesn't look right here. Maybe we're going to spark some thinking. Maybe we're going to get unstuck and we're going to move to the next spot. So how did we make this happen? Let's dive in. Remember, if you want to build along with me, there's a link below in the video description where you can jump into this activity and build along. I also included a link to the slideshow that has the images that we have in here if you want to use these same images. Okay, so let's jump into it. Here on screen 2, so what we have component-wise, right? Remember, you'll build along with me on screen 1. I'm going to be working on screen 2. We have a sketch component, we have a note, and we have a choice. So I have my sketch set to a graph because that's how we're going to get the images set here. So let's jump in and put our images in to get this started. So I'm going to click Edit Graph. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to add item and add my images. So before, let me kind of show you what these images are. I can look here and I can see I have the basic model, and then what I've gone in and I've just added the different answer choice solutions in here, right? So this is when X is 1, 2, 3, and so on, right? So here's what I did. I snipped those images, saved them on my desktop, so now I'm ready to add them in. So I'm going to do image, and let's find these here. Let's see, I think they're in this folder, and got it. So here's my initial one is selected. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to set this up and I'm going to zoom in and set it to where I want it to be. A trick I found, and I'm not sure exactly why this works, but once you get it here, if you double click this wrench on and off, that kind of lets Desmos know that this is the window setting that I want. So I'm going to hit done, and yeah, that looks pretty good. I think I'm happy with that. So if I preview it too, I can see that's what the students will see. I like it. So let's come in here again with the wrench, turn off the grid, turn off the axes, and now I'm going to add in my additional images. So I'm going to go in here and just add, here's answer choice A, here's answer choice B, answer choice C, and answer choice D, right? So I have my 4 different options, but notice they're all stacked on top of each other. So how do we make different things pop up based on what the students select on the outside? Well, this is where we need our CL to come in. So let's come into our sketch computation layer, and I'm going to create a number. So I'm going to create a number S for our selection. And I'm going to say when choice 2, because I'm on my second screen, is selected 1. So this is saying when you've selected the first option on choice 2, I want this number to equal 1. Then I'm just going to copy and paste this, and let's do, I have answer choice 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to have my otherwise 0. Now they're all 1s. Here's a little fancy trick Jay Chow shared with us on Twitter. If you click afterwards, hold Control, and then click here, notice I have 2 cursors now. So I can backspace 2 down, backspace 3, backspace 4, both at the same time. Super handy computation layer trick. So again, that's click, hold Control or your command on a Mac, and then click where you want the second one to be. And you can actually do this like as many times as you want. So you can get a lot of things changing at the same time. So let's zoom in on this real quick so we can see what this looks like and what I'm doing here. So again, I created a number named S, and I said when that multiple choice, the first option is selected, I'm going to have that number equal 1. When the second option is selected, I'm going to have that number equal 2. Third 3, fourth 4, and if nothing is selected, it's going to be 0. So this is what I'm going to use in my graph to make those images change. So let's dive in and make that happen. So if I'm looking at my original one, my model, the original model is right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a conditional statement after this y value. I'm going to use my open squiggly bracket. I'm going to say when s equals 0, I want to display that. So what we're saying essentially is when s equals 0, that y value is going to be 0. Otherwise, the y value is going to be undefined, which means that image won't display at all. So we're going to add this same one. So for model A, my answer choice A, I want this to be a 1. For B, I want this to be a 2. For C, I want this to be a 3. And for D, I want this to be a 4. Now it's yelling at me because we don't have an S. If you want to see it, we can define the S. And I'm going to go ahead and set my domain here, or my range here, from 0 to 4. So now I can kind of see, and let's do it by ones, so I can see this in action. So here's the model. They pick A, they pick B, they pick C, they pick D. So I can kind of watch that change happen. Let's test it in our preview. So if we go out here, there it is. Option A, option B, option C, option D. So we already have that great feedback. Now, if you stopped here, fantastic. This is still some good things to get the wheels turning and to get students thinking about their answer choice, right? Without telling them the right or wrong, but just showing them this is what your answer actually looks like. But this explain your thinking, like that's a great thing, but you know, what if we could go further? What if we could ask more and have them really kind of get specific with that? Well, that's what we can do with the explainPrompt sync. So let's come into our computation layer for the choice, or the choice component. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put explainPrompt, and anything after here is going to be replacing that explain your thinking text. So what we're going to start with is, let's say, you know, your selection is shown in the model on the right, period. Right? Now I'm going to do a trick here to get extra lines. I'm going to put \n\n. So what that's going to do is say I want a new line, new line. That's like the equivalent of hitting enter twice, right? So if I hit enter and my cursor bumps down, every time I do that \n, it's the same thing. So it's just going to give us a little bit of space. So I'm going to say talk about how this model supports your selection, right? Or something to that effect, right? So we want students to say, this is what my answer choice that I picked looks like in the model. How does that support the fact that this equation is true, right? What does that do to kind of make my answer right, or make me believe it's right, right? So hopefully we're having conversations about what those cancellations will be, the positive and negatives come together, right? We're getting those wheels turning. So let's preview it now. As soon as I select this, here we go. Boom. Now we've got a nice question to really focus in and move that thinking along and get them responding to new things. So with this, we're ready to roll. Nice and simple. We have two pieces of computation layer. We did the number to make those choices change and make those images change, and then we came in here and we did the explain prompt right there to change what that question is. So hopefully this helps you kind of level up your feedback game. I'm curious to see what kind of images and what kind of things would you use in your activities. And remember, if you have any other questions, you can put them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, y'all, and happy Desmosing.